Let's do it live on a Victory Monday edition of the program. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. You're on.
Yes.
7-3, baby.
Woo!
Let's go.
7-3. Let's go. For those who have wondered, I've spent the last 12 hours or so in the dryer at my house. I am now dry and ready to be back and be excited. What a win. Olivier Vernon, MVP. It was one of those. What a performance by OV, Claiborne, Denzel. We spoke it into existence, Beau, on the Kevin Stefanski show. I said, Denzel, why aren't you blitzing the quarterback? You got to go get in there. Boom. Pick six. Taki. The Iron Sheik's on board, baby. He said the Taki is the real. Let's go.
Wait, the Iron Sheik? What?
Yes.
What happened?
Sheiky baby.
What did I miss?
Sheiky baby tweeted. I'll quote it to you right now. The Sheik.
The actual Sheik? The
Taki, no jabroni. That's right. He is the real. Let's go.
It was this is a lot of coaches have come in here, and you've been around a lot of them and got to know some of them, and many of them are great humans. But a lot of people have come in here and been hired and have said, we're going to play AFC North football. We are going to be physical. We're going to run the football. We are going to do everything that you're going to have to do in the AFC North and to win in this division on the shores of Lake Erie. We've had a lot of people who have said that. And what we have now, and the talent certainly is stuff that we'll get into, and there's a lot of it. But you have a coach now who practices it. And the way that this team just ruthlessly guts out win after win after win in the most ridiculous conditions that I've ever seen a football team play in, those 3 games that you were at all of them. But that was the most ridiculous conditions that you've seen. And his ability and faith in what he's doing and commitment to what he's doing puts this team in its best position to win every single time out. And it is something that I suppose in 1994 when you're coached by Bill Belichick, you had that feeling, but I don't know since or even before, but you have it now.
Yes.
But when you go into games, you have the better coach, you have the more prepared coach, and you have a guy who's going to get the very most out of his team and put them in a position to win. And that's what I think of when I think of 7-3. This is a testament to Kevin Stefanski, what he did without an offseason, without a true training camp, to get this team to believe, to be committed. On the long Chubb run, and we'll talk about it, did you see the receivers down there blocking?
Of course.
At the end?
Of course.
Like, that buy-in, buddy, that's
it's
big
everywhere.
Time. I mean,
it's
guys
everywhere.
who aren't getting – they're not getting touches. They're not getting the ball thrown to them. And these are – like Jarvis is, certainly on pace to be like a Hall of Fame level guy. His jersey's in Canton.
Yes.
So, and they don't care because they buy in. And that's coaching. So when you think about the difference, what difference does a coach make? Well, you're seeing it. This is the difference a coach makes.
Kevin Stefanski deserves very much to be in the conversation for the Coach of the Year, period. I really, truly believe that. He deserves to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year this year. And he is, frankly, spectacular. His steady hand, the way that he manufactures offense for this team, the concepts in the ground game, the special nature of Nick Chubb, by the way. You mentioned that run. You're talking about the receivers blocking down the field as you see people shoving people. Jarvis is pancaking a guy in Hollywood, throwing him out of the club. Nick Chubb stiff arms a guy into oblivion, but they've taken on his demeanor. We had 18 yards rushing in the first half. I had talked all week. This is not, they may be the 26th ranked run defense. This is not an easy run defense to run on. Nick Chubb, now the first player this season to run for 100 yards, and 54 of them came on one carry.
Yeah.
But he sticks with it. He's opportune. I thought something, a little minor tweak that he did this week, which was great. You know, we have a guest on this program, Jake Burns, all the time, who I think is a very astute observer of the game, and he put this one out there, which I thought was fun. The Browns went 4 for 4 for 112 yards on first down play action schemes. Those 4 plays accounted for over 60% of their passing yards on the day, and that was something I guarantee came out of the self-scout. We were running a little bit of a high percentage on first down. let's go ahead and take advantage of that. 4 for 4 for 112 yards on those play action plays. So that's Kevin Stefanski learning, adapting, manufacturing. I just think the way that they set it up, I had a chance to talk to Kadarius Hodge earlier today, and the double move, that little out and up, he said, we had talked about the drive before. We're running kind of a play that might not be successful just to set that up, and it ends up being a 42-yard gain. So it's that kind of stuff that Kevin Stefanski had. And look, I don't think this was our best game from an execution standpoint by any measure. In the run game, we missed some blocks that could have easily popped some big runs. In the pass game, we missed some easy throws. That drive that ended at the goal line, Harrison Bryant should have scored, but it was underthrown pass for him. And then Austin Hooper's as open as you get in the National Football League. But we overcame it. And I think that's the testament to Kevin Stefanski and what he's instilled in this team. It was a 3-phase win. Joe Woods, this defense, kudos to you guys. Olivier Vernon?
Man.
Olivier Vernon? Come on. Awesome. Awesome.
Taki with the pick six.
Taki.
I mean, it was everything. It was, it's all these guys growing up together. And I saw Mac tweet something about, the culture change here and all of that. They're all a part of it. And there's just a tremendous belief and buy-in. And it's a formidable team to play, and it's a team that puts itself in position to win week in and week out. And you know that there will be big tests, and they're going to come in back-to-back weeks playing Tennessee and Baltimore. Those are going to be heavy tests. But you know that this is a tremendous thing. When we play teams of equal or lesser than talent, it feels like it's a gimme. And folks, this isn't college football. It's not college football. It's not a gimme. Go look at yesterday in the NFL. Go look at all the nonsense that happened yesterday in the NFL. Just complete nonsense up and down the schedule. Teams winning that had no business winning. Going to places had no business going and winning. And so to when you go into a game knowing that you'll be put in the best position to succeed, that you will schematically, you will choke the opponent out offensively. I mean, that's what he's doing. It's a great point on Joe Woods in terms of what the defense was able to overcome without Miles. By the way, Miles would have had 7 sacks. In that game, he would have just
without Miles and the majority of the game without Ronnie Harrison, who I think we all agree has become our third best defensive player. And just tremendous. Joe Woods, tremendous in this one. Tremendous.
Yeah, it was. It really was. There were so many great moments. It was interesting when Nick Chubb smoked that. To have those two guys and that offensive line, to have those two guys is just something that so many teams in this league, nobody else in this league has that benefit. I mean, you're going to see the Rams tonight, and they're going to have 3 running backs who are going to get the ball. None of them are as good as our 2.
No, they're close.
But there are lots that want to try and play this way, and they're successful with it. But they don't have these two guys. And when Nick Chubb smoked that guy, all I thought was in Anchorman where he said, "Brick killed a guy." That's what it felt like. Like Nick Chubb killed a guy. He really did. It just.
What about on Kareem's touchdown run? Wyatt Teller one point has one dude on each arm like he's Andre the Giant, and the one that he has over here, he sends a cornerback to the back of the end zone one-handed and throws him like a child.
Right. And then Kareem goes Ronaldo Nehemiah and just hurdles. I mean, it was just tremendous.
Oh, Beau, great call. Ronaldo Nehemiah was great 49er. A lot of speed.
It was fun. It's fun. You were at this game. From a condition standpoint, was it as miserable as it looked on television?
Listen, don't cry for me, Argentina. However, worst
it's
conditions.
Pure joy, Victory Monday.
Worst conditions I've ever been in. My waterproof
really? Worse
gear.
Than 2 weeks?
Oh yeah.
Really?
And those were miserable. But my waterproof, waterproof. But waterproof is waterproof until you're under a hose for 5 hours. Like at some point they reach their saturation point and they say no mas. That happened to me about midway through the third quarter. I look like my skin, when you sit in a hot tub for too long or a pool and you turn into a prune. My hands were prunes. I had to stop talking to Gibbe because my gloves each weighed 100 pounds. They were toast. I had to take the gloves. It was unreal. Not good.
Awful. I just have never seen anything in football like what we've endured weather-wise in 3 straight home games.
No,
never.
No, none of the players have either. They all think it is. They all think that it is total madness. Total madness.
Yeah.
By the way, I also have to give.
I want
to give a quick shout out to one person when we were going through the list of people who needed quick shout outs. Jordan Elliott. Jordan Elliott forced that fumble on the opening drive and played a great game. In fact, Pro Football Focus had him at a 90.2 which was second on the team behind only Taki. Third was OV and Denzel, Denzel's great. And Carl Joseph played great in the time he was allowed to be on the field. Recovered the fumble, had a sack. I mean, everybody. Everybody just stepping up. The way people just step up repeatedly on this team, to me, is magical, and that's what you were saying at the beginning. It's Kevin Stefanski. It's the culture. Mac Wilson talked about it. And, boy, Mac, I wanted that to be an interception so bad for Mac because he put in a full-length trot and posed to the crowd with the interception. It's very sad to see it overturned. But the celebration won't be taken away from Mac or any of us.
No, not at all. And it was, when you think about what happened yesterday, and it could have been a lot even better if you think about the Packers had a big lead on the Colts, but the Dolphins losing, the Raiders losing. So you've gotten some help around the league as well. And now you find yourself in second place in the AFC North with Baltimore losing to Tennessee. They're up 11 in that game and blew it. So there was a lot of strange things that happened in the league, and now you're in a good spot. If the playoffs started right now, you're a sixth seed headed to Buffalo. You're at a 6th seed headed to Buffalo, and very, very likely you look at this thing and you say 10-6, but 11-5 is I think that's the goal, is 11-5. Just you and I talking, not the team, but I mean that should be the goal. You should beat those 3 teams that you should beat, and you should steal one and beat either Tennessee, Baltimore. I got news for you: Baltimore's not scary, and Tennessee's not scary either.
No,
both of those teams are very, very beatable. So there's a lot of opportunity here for this team to make a lot of hay down the stretch. I cannot imagine how excited they will be to play in Jacksonville this week in nice conditions. That would be, after what they've endured, to just have like no elements will be pretty sweet.
Yeah, but play a pure game. Just go play a pure
that's why it's hard.
Football game.
It's hard to judge what we are now because of the conditions we played in for 3 straight games. We haven't been able to, like Kevin Stefanski, we talked about this with him on the coaches show last week. What are you able to you put in a game plan? How much of it can you use by the time you get to these Sundays with the conditions the way that they are?
I think in this one they were able to do more. You saw more shot plays. You saw more down the field passing. There was no wind. That was the thing that was great about it. Like if I did not become oversaturated at a certain point and my gear failed, it would have been much more of a pleasant experience than the week before.
Yeah.
That sullied it for me.
Yeah.
But, no wind. I think we saw more. We really don't know, but I want to see because you hope you're going to play some games in some decent conditions coming up. And, by the way, you got pretty much everything you could have wanted yesterday with the exception of the Packers botching it in overtime.
Yeah, they blew it about as big as you could. Yeah, other than that, it was a really good day for you. So not all of the news is good. Coach, and you'll hear from Coach here coming up shortly, but just a couple of things. No Myles Garrett for this weekend's game Sunday, as well as he's still in COVID-19 on the COVID-19 list, and then Denzel Ward getting an MRI on his calf. So I didn't see anything with that. Did you see any of that?
No, I saw nothing that would have indicated anything was going on there, and so hopefully that will be we'll dodge the bullet and get him back, get Ronnie Harrison back, because this one's got to be circled on the Harrison calendar. There's no doubt. I would think it'd be hard-pressed to keep him out of this game. Yeah. I think that would be pretty difficult to keep him out of this one. But this is pure joy, man. It's 7-3 and headed to Jacksonville with a very good chance at going 8-3 and smack dab in the middle of it. You wanted to play games in December that really mattered. You're going to. You want to be in a playoff hunt. You are. This is what Kevin Stefanski came here to do, and I think he deserves a lot of the credit because the buy-in, the execution, what he brings to the table each and every Sunday is, honestly, it's better than who we're playing almost every week. And it's been a long time since I think you've been able to say that. That is just so well said, Beau. That is a tremendous point. And the reason is it is not something we have perhaps been familiar with since maybe 1994, which was the last time that the Browns were in this position. And I think that it goes back to it. It's the 3 Ps, right? I mean, we're talking about somebody who's supremely prepared. He has a plan and a process to implement the plan, and it goes week after week after week. We talked about that supreme confidence that he has, that quiet confidence. That's why he stays steady. That's why he's so locked into his process, an impenetrable fortress. He knows what he has to do, and he executes, and he does it. Now, the guys on the field make it happen. And our defense, I don't know, maybe our defense is good all of a sudden. We'll get maybe more of a test when the weather's better, but You got to
Yeah.
just the fact
We'll see.
that
Yeah.
this team, and I thought Donovan Peoples-Jones had his best game as a returner. He actually changed some field position. Cody Parkey remains incredible. Of course, one was blocked, but that wasn't – I don't put that on Cody Parkey. This team just finds way the hammer pinning him back that leads to the safety. I mean, this is all big-time stuff. This is the team working – this is 3 phases working together and doing – it's not always pretty, but in the moments that they need it, they come through. And I'll even say this about our quarterback. He had some of his best throws. The throw that I think won 2 weeks ago was the 3rd and 18 that set up our lone touchdown drive against Houston, and had some big 3rd down throws again in this game.
Yeah.
We're doing what we need to do when we need to do it, and if you can keep it in that roll, in that tight range, Nick Chubb's going to bust one.
Yep. Yeah, it is. That's just the way it is. It's really is a formula for success. It's complementary football as it is defined. Those are your OBM hot topics. Ohio Business Machine preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns. For all the X's and O's to your office, call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. And with yesterday's win, Tito's Handmade Vodka, proud to support the Cleveland Browns through the Tito's Victory Vodka program with a $1,000 donation to Wags for Warriors, helping provide service dogs for veterans at no cost to the veteran. Thank you, Tito's. And remember, please enjoy Tito's Handmade Vodka responsibly. You will hear from your coach coming up. And at the bottom of the hour, it's time for the Joe Thomas Hour. Off and running here on a Victory Monday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Nominations for the 2020 Helmets Program now being accepted. Zenith invites you to nominate your Ohio high school to receive $25,000 worth of new Zenith helmets. Visit promotions.clevelandbrowns.com to learn more. All right, time to hear from your coach, Kevin Stefanski, from the podium from earlier today.
So I'll start with injuries, and I'll start with the COVID list.
Both down.
Miles will be out this week. He'll stay on the COVID list. Andy Janovich and Chris Hubbard, we're really waiting to see on those guys, so I can't rule them in or out. Injuries coming from the game. We talked about Ronnie Harrison. Got his MRI back. He'll be day-to-day with a knee contusion. Sheldrick Redwine also has a knee issue that he's working through day-to-day, see how he progresses. And then Denzel Ward came in with a calf that we're getting MRIs on, and I'll update you when I have those results. Going back to the game, like we talked about yesterday, the guys fought really hard. Some adverse conditions there. I just thought the way the defense played, how hard they played, getting their hands on the ball, constantly going after that team, I thought was really impressive. And then able to close it out there and win a situational football game there, as with our special teams having hands team out there. Offense being able to take some time off the clock. So good complementary football there to get a W. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Hey, Kevin, just following up, you said Miles would be out this week. I assume you're saying he's out for the Jacksonville game, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Coach, before I ask you what I want to, with Denzel, he reported it this morning, the calf?
Correct.
Do you have any, do you think it could be serious? Do you have any kind of information there?
I really don't know. I'll update you guys when we get the results.
Okay. And then yesterday we talked about adjustments a little bit, and Baker said, hey, we're pretty good at adjusting. How much pride do you take in the ability to make the right switches in game?
Yeah, I mean, that's our job as coaches, to see what's going on and make adjustments. And I think the misnomer is that they're halftime adjustments. They're adjustments within a series. They're adjustments really happening all the time, whether it be personnel, using somebody else out there, putting in different personnel out there. There were a few things we did offensively. We adjusted a few routes on a couple of plays that we hadn't practiced it that way, but watching how they were playing, we thought they might have a chance. We changed some formations up late in the game, some runs that we had in the game plan, but we ran them out of some different formations based on what we were seeing. I know defensively, Joe called a couple of different line movements, early, and that's just what happens is you're trying to call the game that's called for, and that's really our job, to see what's going on and put our guys in position to succeed.
What goes into a team being really good at that?
Well, I think you have to have great communication, first and foremost. And I think that's what
not a great look.
I'm really hard on our coaches to make sure that during the game we're all communicating well and then getting that information to the players, because ultimately it doesn't matter what we know. It matters what our players know and what they can handle and what they can put into practice or put into the game.
Hey, Kevin, can you tell us, do you have a feel for how Miles is doing? And then secondly, why rule him out on Monday when the protocols, at least the letter of the law, say that you could have a chance to get him back for Jacksonville?
And Nate, I'm not going to get into specifics per se how he's feeling. I'll just tell you we're ruling him out because that's what the protocols call for. We're just following the rules, and we'll continue to do so.
Hey, Kevin, I have two questions. One, Wyatt Teller's getting a lot of notoriety, I think, because of Pro Football Focus. But who else on that offensive line has really stepped up for you? And the second question would be, knowing on Monday you won't have Miles for Jacksonville, is there any advantage to knowing so early in the week you won't have him?
Well, I'll start with Miles. I mean, I guess for the defensive staff, and as we put the game plan together, we know who's available to us. And sometimes you got to wait through the week. There's oftentimes a guy's coming off of an injury, and you got to wait on. You won't see him on Wednesday, and they practice a little on Thursday, and then you got to make a determination Friday. So whatever we have to do in that regard to make sure we have the guys in the right position. And then you mentioned Wyatt. I thought he had a solid day. I think there's some things that I'd like him to do better. I think he has a ton of room for improvement. All of it is technique related, and I think he understands that, and I think our offensive line as a group understands that they can play a lot better.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you about the run game yesterday. You had 18 yards at halftime. You stuck with the run. My question isn't about you sticking with the run, but I'm just, curious your faith and belief that those guys were going to get it going. I think you ran it 27 times in the second half. How much of staying with it when it was tough sledding early is philosophical, and how much of that was just your faith and belief that Chubb and Kareem were going to get it going?
Yeah, I just think all those games are their own entities, and that's what yesterday called for. You mentioned Kareem and Nick. I do think that they are the type of runners that they eventually will pop one. I think we faced a really tough, stout run defense yesterday. They got their fair share of good rushes on us. They defeated blocks. So the runs ultimately weren't there, like you mentioned in the first half, but I know how close those are. You just look at the surface, you look at the pictures on the sideline, and you know how close they are. So we just felt like we were going to stick with a balanced approach there, give those guys a few turns.
1 minute.
We were making ourselves difficult to defend, and then with their ability to break a couple late in the game, I think was how we were able to cement the lead and get out of there with a win.
Coach, there are a lot of ways you could imagine that you can get your team focused for facing a team with a poor record, one of which is you guys, in all of your wins, the other team that you played arguably could say they were in position to beat you. So all of that. But, how are you going to frame it to your team
30
and make sure that your focus is right facing a team that is 1-9?
Yeah, Steve, I think we got to go down there and have our best week of practice, first of all, and then go down there and play our best to win. We don't think we're good enough to just show up and play. That's definitely not the case with us. There's a ton of room for improvement. So our
stand by
really goes to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the type of preparation that is required to get a road win.
You're up.
Yeah, I just don't think that this is a team with this coach that you're ever going to have to worry about looking past or taking anybody lightly. Like, he doesn't.
Right.
I mean, we talk to him every week on the coaches show. He is so laser focused. Like, there's really no variation. There's no room for it. Good or, but there's no high-low. It's steady. There's nothing. So I just don't think that's ever going to be a problem with this team, not with him as the coach.
Yeah, he incredible. Absolutely incredible in terms of just that laser focus. And it's going to be interesting, though, as he mentioned, we haven't gone on the road in forever.
No.
Since Cincinnati. That's the last time we were on the road. It's
5 weeks ago?
It's been a month. It's been 3 home games in the bye.
Yeah.
So
home
you
games
got to
in the
get
bye.
them. And then
Yeah.
this is an unusual week for everybody around the league, obviously, with Thanksgiving. So I'm sure he knew this was on the calendar, well prepared for it, and will get the team ready to go.
Yeah, and what the good teams do to teams like Jacksonville is what Pittsburgh did. Leave no doubt. Leave no doubt. Take care of business, be done, and move it on down the road. And that's the way that you handle your business when you're a team with culture that's building things in a winner. We're going to have a lot of fun. The Hoff Hour is coming up next. It is the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Snapple. It's coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio today for free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now we are proud to bring on the great Hoff. Joe Thomas joining us for the Joe Thomas Hour. 7-3, first time since '94. Hoff, feels pretty good, my friend.
Feels good, man. This is a pure joy Monday, and now we're rolling. I cannot wait for next Sunday. That's what it's supposed to feel like in November, and I just think back to the tough years that I had and, like, what the fans must have been thinking about in November and December, and then now to flip it and to think what the fans are feeling and thinking as Thanksgiving rolls around and Christmas rolls around and you're right in the thick of the playoff race, and your Brownies are kicking ass and taking names. Beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and restate my vote for a dome with a retractable roof, since you were enjoying that one from the comfort of your palatial estate, Hoff, and I was not.
You must hate winning. That's all I can say. Like, I would rather be uncomfortable and win than to be comfortable and lose.
Don't try to say that I'm like Sidney Dean. I would not rather look good and lose. Billy Ho.
Hey,
Billy Ho.
The first bad weather game, the Browns, they didn't have it quite figured out. They lost. But the last two, they got it figured out. They know the recipe for success now in bad weather in Cleveland, Ohio, November, December playoff football. I'm telling you, it's our advantage. Don't let it slip through our fingers, Zegura, just because you want to be comfortable on the sidelines. Wearing that fancy suit and a nice tie. It's crispy and 70 degrees. We don't want that. We don't want that version of Zegura.
Oh, boy. But, Hoff, I feel like your Thursday night broadcast would lose so much if you didn't get to have your nice hat on and your nice suit and you were instead in soaked-through rain gear. It wouldn't be the same Hoff. You wouldn't have that certain je ne sais quoi.
We got a high budget operation going on Thursday Night Football. They give us a retractable roof over our studio set, so we're good. Whether it's raining, whether it's shining, it don't matter. We got the roof. We need to get a Zegura personal roof on the sideline so we can end this conversation.
Now we're talking.
Fans, players, no roof. Zegura, roof.
I need to get what I decided is yesterday after watching the way that the Fox sideline reporter she had an umbrella person with her, a person whose sole job was.
She had an umbrella person?
That's right. That's right.
Lindsay Zarniak was not holding her own umbrella? She had an umbrella handler?
A UP,
like
as I
Diddy?
called it. An umbrella
Remember Diddy
person.
used to have one of those.
Yeah, like Diddy. Exactly. But Bentley, wasn't the guy's name Bentley?
Unbelievable.
I need a Stevie in the op zone. I need Ned Fox
Plimpton.
He would do it. He'd come down with an umbrella. Why is it so hard? I didn't even know, frankly. I would have brought my own golf umbrella in. I didn't think you were allowed to bring umbrellas into NFL stadiums and certainly not have them open in the front row. Wrong. Maybe that individual had special disposition to be an umbrella holder, a UH.
It's incredible.
Not me. No. All right, Hoff, take us in the film room after a victory like this, and I'm going to give you two things, and I want to know, is this in an all-offense Zoom, or does this only happen in your position groups, or is this something that gets shown? Nick Chubb absolutely, as Beau said, Nick Chubb just killed somebody with that stiff arm, and then Wyatt Teller on the Hunt touchdown with one person each arm. He looked like Andre the Giant in those old pictures where you have two people sitting on shoulders, and then throws them both like he's Thor or something. I don't even know what was going on. What happens in the film room? And is this an all-team thing? Tell me. That would be so fun.
Yes, and it just depends on the personality of the player. Of course, as we all know, Nick Chubb is very reserved. He's a little bit shy. He's probably just giggling. They're probably trying to bust on him a little bit. They're saying, Nick, why'd you go kill that man like that? And he's probably just sitting in his seat going, But Wyatt Teller, I don't know him personally because I didn't get to play with him, but just knowing his personality a little bit, I think he's got a little more juice. I think he's going to be standing up there in front of everybody, getting everybody a little bit more hyped. He is the ringleader. He is the WWE personality, I feel like, in that offensive meeting. And for sure, he's the one up front that's getting everybody going, talking about, yeah, baby, you see that? One in each arm. I got you. He's like Oprah. I got one for you. I got you. Here's
you
one.
Get thrown. And you get thrown.
You get thrown. You get a pancake.
Hoff on fire. He's coming in hot, folks. I love it. Victory Monday. Let's go.
Joe, Nathan and I were talking about this off the top, and this is the first time since '94 that this franchise has been 7-3, have a record. They were 8-2 in '94. Coach then was Bill Belichick, and I'm by in no means trying to invoke that, but just to make a point, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. We've had a lot of coaches come through here, and a lot of them have had big plans, and they've talked about playing AFC North football and being physical and running the ball and all of those things the Cleveland Browns way. This guy does that. The talent's there certainly, but this guy does that, and it's such an interesting thing because every time we go into a game, I feel like we have the smarter head coach, and it feels like if we have equal or slightly greater talent, it feels like it's a win every time. It's amazing the little things he does in a game to put you in a position to succeed, and that's just rare. That's rare in the league. It's certainly rare for this franchise. What do you see with Stefanski, and does that hit home at all? What I laid out there?
I think there's a misconception among football fans, and I was under that same misconception when I was a wee lad, that being a motivator as a head coach is all about standing up in front of the team and giving those great rah-rah speeches, the win one for the Gipper, and, yelling at guys and cracking the whip, the Vince Lombardi style. But really, the best motivators in the NFL that I've ever seen, that I've ever been around, that I've talked to other guys who played for, and who Bill Belichick, the name that you just mentioned, this is who he is. Those best motivators are the guys that get the players the most well prepared every single week, so that those players go into that game feeling like, if this doesn't work, it's on me, it's not the plan. And so there's an ownership that you take as a player, knowing that my coach is going to put me in the best position to succeed, that I better hold up my end of the bargain or it's going to be my ass. I've had coaches, unfortunately, where you go into those games and you feel like you're already losing before the kickoff even starts because the game plan is not sufficient to win if all else was equal. And I think you hit the nail on the head with Kevin Stefanski. He's got an incredibly talented staff from a preparation standpoint, and you see it out on the field because those guys are ready no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what the weather conditions are, no matter what the opponent is. He's got them ready to play, and he's got a plan that they understand how to execute, and they're able to go out and execute it because they did it during the week in practice. And that's not something that you can say about all 32 head coaches in the NFL. And what I really love, and I get so excited when Z and I do Browns Live because we get an opportunity to interview the coach and we get to talk to him. And even after a win that takes us to 7-3 and puts us back sort of in the driver's seat for the AFC playoff wild card, he's going to be the same person. He's going to be that even keel, level-headed coach that's just focused on one thing, and that's coming up with a good game plan that puts those players in the best position to succeed. And as a player, that's extremely comforting. That's motivating because you want to come in and put those extra hours in because you know that you have been given the master plan, the Zegura master plan for success. And now all you got to do is go out and play good ball on Sunday and have fun, and you see the results. They're there.
And Hoff, it seems like every week he adds a new wrinkle or bakes something off of something he had done before. And for example, I think one of the things that came out of Self-Scout was we're not running enough play-action shot plays on first downs. 4 for 4 for 112 yards on first down play-action schemes. 4 for 4 for 112. And so that was a little tendency breaker. But just from talking to people much smarter than myself, like you, I feel like people pigeonhole this as that it's the wide zone scheme. There are so many layers to our rushing game and what he is doing, and you understand them. So tell us, Hoff, what is he showing you from his ability? Because I'll text Beau sometimes during the game and go, this guy is a flat-out genius with some of the stuff that he is scheming up.
Well, you hit it when you were talking about the unpredictability and the layering and the understanding of tendencies and how you can actually use your own tendencies to your favor. Because, like, let's say, for instance, you're an outside zone team and 1st and 10, or P and 10 we call, like, the first play of the drive is called P and 10. If you're always typically running outside zone, let's say at a 60% clip to the tight end, well, you know that at some point in the season after a couple games, the defense has got a scouting report. They know what's going on, right? So they're going to be calling defenses to try to stop your most likely play. But what you do if you're the next level head coach is you're thinking 2 steps ahead, and that's what Kevin Stefanski's been doing. And that's why it's so fun to watch him when you're looking at it from offensive PhD standpoint, is because you see what he's trying to get the defense to think he's going to do. Okay, it's P and 10. They're strong to the right. They've got their tight end to the right. They're probably going to run outside zone to that tight end. Nick Chubb's in the backfield. Like, all those tells that the coaching staff on the other side has been coaching up their defense all week. That defensive coordinator has been in that Friday afternoon practice shouting at that defense, "Hey, it's P and 10. The tight end's to the left. What are they going to do?" And everyone turns around and yells, "They're going to run outside zone to this direction." Okay, well, what does Kevin Stefanski do? He's going to run a play action pass, and it's going to look just like outside zone to that direction. So he's feeding all those narrow-minded people on defense, those 11 mental midgets over on the other side of the football. He's feeding them a little bit of the drug, thinking that, oh, here comes Nick Chubb. We better stop him. He's the best running back in the NFL. And all of a sudden, Baker Mayfield pulls a little magic, slips the ball into his hip pocket. Rashad Higgins or Kadero Hodge is running down the middle of the field because it looks like they're coming in and they're going to crack the safety just like you do in outside zone, but all of a sudden they slip and run a little takeoff route, and Baker hits them for 30 yards. That's what you do to screw with the defense. You screw with the tendencies because you understand your own tendencies as well, if not better than the defense, and you can use that to your advantage. And that's why I was really excited to see how they played coming out of the bye week, because you knew that during the bye week, that was their opportunity to really dive another level deeper into those tendencies and what we are doing on offense and how teams are trying to attack us and take Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt away from us. And then you can kind of start throwing the counter punches, and it's just been beautiful the last 2 weeks to watch.
Joe, the relentlessness of our run game, Philly was great. I mean, they really stuffed us. But if you hit it enough, we're so determined in the run game. And weather maybe contributes to that a little bit. Certainly it's our strength. We have a great offensive line, and we have 2 of the 7 best backs in football, maybe 2 of the 5 best backs in football on our team. But it seems like he is everything he does, and we saw this with Tennessee yesterday as well, in the sense of Derrick Henry really didn't do anything until the fourth quarter and in overtime. And so it's all setting up for the end of these game situations. Now, we haven't had to chase a game in a while, so we don't know what that's going to look like. But just from an offensive lineman's perspective, to have that approach, this relentless pursuit of running the football, you see a smile on Bitonio. It looks like they're having the time of their lives out there playing this way.
Yeah, a lot of stuff there. I think, one, you got to give a lot of credit to the defense for keeping you in a tight game and giving you the ability to continue to run the football.
Yep.
I think one thing that the Kubiak-Shanahan system and coaching tree does a really good job of is committing to the run and staying committed to the run and staying committed to your game plan and understanding that that's what your offense is. Your offense is a outside zone, play action, deep shot offense. And if you don't have the ability to threaten the defense with your running game, with the fact that you're going to call the runs and you're going to run them no matter what is going on, it gives you the ability to set up those play action passes. And this offense spends a large majority of their time in practice practicing outside zone and play action pass, whereas a lot of other coordinators who cut their teeth as assistants in offenses that maybe feature mostly passing, they don't understand the run game. They run when they have to, not when they want to and when they can. And so what they do is they spend a lot of time on just the drop back pass stuff. Well, this offense doesn't spend as much time on the drop back pass. And so if they get forced into a situation where they have to, they don't have as much experience and they're not as good. And so I think the fact that the defense kept it close or has been keeping them close is a big reason why you can beat a defense down with the 2-headed attack of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And really the only game that I can think of this season that got real sideways was that Baltimore game, and the Browns didn't look very good, right? Because it was so lopsided that they had to sit back and drop back pass, and that's just not what they do best. But you have to give Kevin Stefanski and this system a lot of credit for being willing and wanting to run the football and understanding what that does to a defense when there is a threat of running the football, and how Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt wear a defense down so that it's a back and forth game until the fourth quarter. And all of a sudden that defense is a little bit tired, and those holes that weren't there now all of a sudden are maybe 2-foot holes. And Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are the type of backs that are going to go through that hole. They're going to put their hand in your chest and throw you to the ground, and then they're going to explode for 60 yards, which is not something that every team can say about their running backs. But the way it all works together is beautiful.
Joe, have you ever seen somebody throw a defensive end?
No. I was thinking, the Derrick Henry play with Josh Norman earlier in the season was the closest thing I've ever seen, but he was a corner. Exactly right. This is a grown man. This is not some little baby corner running around at 175 pounds dripping wet. This is an adult. This is no child. That was amazing. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, the power that you have to be able, it was like he shot put him. It was incredible.
Zeke, could you tell right away what he did, or did you have to see the replay? Because honestly, in real time on television, it happened, but then I was like, am I sure that's what I saw?
I couldn't tell. It was obviously much better watching it back on the tape. I knew that he stiff-armed, but it almost looked, honestly, like the guy fell. So as opposed to being planted 6 feet below the Earth's surface by Nick Chubb's stiff arm. The one, though, to me that live was the most insane, defying logic that looked like I was watching Madden is when he Top Gunned. He hit the brakes and they flew right by, and then he backed up and then hit to the side again and then took off for another 10 yards. That juke live, because I was in a perfect line with him, was absurd. He's absurd. Yeah. He's absurd. Yeah. He makes you think. Right now, there are 3 people in the NFL that I think are so key to what their team's for, at running back, that are so key to what their teams are about, that you can't imagine them, not being on that team. And I would say Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, who is not getting enough talk as he might. I mean, he is in that rarefied air. Our guy Nick Chubb. And then I'd say Kamara for what he does for the Saints.
Yeah, I would agree.
McCaffrey, you might have thought was in that discussion, but they seem to be just fine without him. I mean, Mike Davis has done a pretty decent impersonation. They've been okay. The guys that I mentioned, because Kamara can actually, and not that McCaffrey can't run, he definitely can run. But the Henry, Cook, Chubb, as strictly ball carriers, are so essential to what their teams do. And they all have the ability to catch it and run in space as well. But Kamara just plays he almost plays a different position than everybody else.
Yeah. No, it's something. And then to have Kareem Hunt, who just hurdles people, it's just ridiculous to have them both. It's a tremendous advantage. We'll have to hand out some game balls coming up next. You're listening to the Joe Thomas Hour, Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Snapple on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Looking to refinance or purchase a home at Union Home Mortgage? Their process is simple and straightforward. Your loan officer keeps you in the loop all the way to the end zone. Visit unionhomemortgage.com to get a mortgage you'll rave about. Union Home Mortgage. Promises kept. Union Home Mortgage Corp. NMLS 2229 is an equal housing lender. It is the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily here on a Victory Monday, and time to hand out some game balls. 2 game balls each, and as always, we start with the Hoff. Who gets your first game ball, Hoff?
Oh, I'm glad we get to start with me because Olivier Vernon finally had that breakout game that we've been looking for him to have. And I think he was a big part of getting this defense to be playing as well as they are right now. And I think we can finally confidently say that this defense seems to be trending in the right direction. And it's not the liability that it was earlier in the season. And it gets me pretty excited when we get Miles back at some point here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, if Olivier's playing at the same level that he did against Hall of Famer Jason Peters, now not currently playing at a Hall of Fame level, but still playing good football, having 3 sacks, he absolutely deserves a game ball because put him and Miles back together, that gets me really excited for December.
Huff, what did you see from Olivier Vernon that was different? This was obviously his best game as a Brown. It was a dominant performance. What was it? Familiarity with the Eagles from his time with the Giants, obviously some injuries that they had, but it was mostly Peters and Lane Johnson for at least the early portions of the game, and he was great from the first snap.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't doing anything different from a technique or a pass rush move standpoint. He was just more explosive. He was more sudden. He was more powerful than I've seen him because I'm watching him do those same moves in weeks past, and there wasn't a lot of juice there, really, is what you would call it. And then all of a sudden, he's pushing 350-pound Jason Peters into the backfield and sacking Carson Wentz, and then he's running around him. I mean, he looked like the player that the Giants signed for $10,000 million a few years ago. And if we can get back to that version of Olivier Vernon, I think the Browns are going to be really happy because he was marvelous. I played against him when he was with the Dolphins one of his last years before he signed the big deal with the Giants. And he was a tough player. I mean, he was powerful. He was strong. He had the kind of a slipperiness to him where you would say, like, okay, that's not like a great pass rush move, but he's getting on an edge and he's getting to the quarterback and he's moving the quarterback off his spot. He was spectacular. And I don't know what it was. I don't know what he ate for breakfast, but I hope he eats it again next weekend.
Z, game ball.
Nick Chubb, 114 yards. And I hear people saying, well, yeah, but on his other 19 carries, he had 19 carries for 50 yards. That's not good. But then he had 1 for 54. No, that's what – remember Barry Sanders? That's what it is. That's what it is. You wear him down, and then you pop a game-changing run, which is exactly what he did. First running back to rush for more than 81 yards, let alone 100 yards against this Eagles defense all year long. Stud Nick Chubb. Boy, he makes you ponder your thoughts about the running back position because he is special.
He is, and I'll tell you this, if he can stay healthy and stay here for a while, he's got a chance to be one of the most popular Cleveland Browns of all time because the way he goes about his business just fits perfectly with the organization. Everything you want to be is in Nick Chubb. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I'll go Denzel Ward here. He was drafted really high to be an elite corner. You needed him to be elite in big games. You're down Myles Garrett, who was also obviously a very, very high pick, number 1 overall. Denzel 4th overall. Denzel needed to be great in a game like this, and he was. Gets the sack on Wentz, or the hit on Wentz that leads to the interception for Taki. Gets the pick at the end of the game, was around the ball, was blanket coverage much of the game. I hope he can get through and that MRI shows us nothing and we're able to see him this weekend because he is having a special season. That was a special Sunday for him. Hoff, second game ball.
Sione Taki. I mean, in a game where your offense is really kind of struggling, especially in the first half, the weather conditions are terrible, to be able to get an opportunity, which is what Sione had, to make an interception and make it and then take it into the end zone. Like, when your moment is called on defense in a bad weather game like that, the difference between winning and losing is making that play. Like, you don't get a lot of those in a bad weather game. And for a young player to make his first interception of his career and take it back for a touchdown and do what seemingly looks easy on TV, but you see guys miss that play all the time throughout the NFL, kept the Browns in that game early on and was fantastic. I'm so happy for him because he seems to be one of those guys on defense for the Browns that brings that energy, a lot like Kareem Hunt. And when things maybe aren't going as well, hopefully I'm hoping that as the season wears on and as the years wear on, he can be one of those emotional leaders on that defense. And I was so happy for him that he was able to get such a huge play in a huge game for the Browns.
Z.
All right, my second game ball, as I follow the rules, is going to go to the Scottish Hammer. Jamie Gillan, the Hammer, with a huge punt. This was at a time where it started to get a little bit tense. They tied up at 7-7. We get a field goal 10-7, but you felt like maybe she got a touchdown on that drive. You have a drive where you're moving the ball. It looks like everything's going to go well, and instead you turn 3rd and 5 into 4th and 14 as Kareem Hunt gets pushed back 9 yards on that 3rd and 5 run that had been a successful play for us in the past. And the Hammer downs it at the 2 with the help of Tavier Thomas, and then the Browns get that safety. And I thought once they got the safety, because the safety and then the touchdown, it puts you up 19, that's when you started to say, okay, we're all right. Because even when they got that field goal to make it, it would have been 10-10. Instead, it's 12-10. It just, that safety ended up feeling massive. And the Hammer, he set it up. Your guy, Vernon, who you gave the game ball to, got the safety. But I give the Hammer credit. And not only that, great job, the whole battery in the kicking game. Yes, one was blocked. I do not put the blame at all on the Hammer or Cody or Hewlett there. But that was an excellent, he's done a great job holding in these conditions. Great job punting, pinning him back. That was worth points. That was such a good punt. It was worth points for the Browns.
Final game ball for me goes to Chad O'Shea. He's going to cut it up and share it with his room, but I want him to have it for this reason. These guys are not getting the targets that they're accustomed to, and certainly Jarvis chief among them. And yet, what do you see time and time again offensively from these receivers? A willingness to block violently down the field, and they block and block and block, and they do it, and there's not a complaint, and they do it at a high level. And it's everybody from Donovan Peoples-Jones coming in from that very first time against Dallas. We've seen it from him. Jarvis sprinting down to lay somebody out and pancake somebody. I mean, that's buy-in. That's give-a-damn level, and they have it. His room all has it in a year where they're not doing what receivers want to do, which is catch the ball and score. Jarvis doesn't have a touchdown on the season. I mean, it's just crazy. And yet there's no quit. They play their butts off all the time, and it's really, really fun to watch. And I think he's doing an excellent job with that group. We continue with the Joe Thomas Hour. Coming up next, we play a little word association. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. You're up. Knowing one's limit is important, whether it's a snap count for a football player or a spending limit when you're playing the lottery. So if you like to gamble, set a limit beforehand. Stick to it. If you want to learn more, go to keepitfunohio.com for helpful tips on how to keep gambling fun. Time to play a little word association. We'll start with the Hoff, and let's start with our quarterback, Baker Mayfield.
I thought it was a little bit of a down game for him. I defended him last week. I thought he was much better than he was given credit for with the conditions and getting done what needed to get done and understanding the game plan. But this week, especially early on when he had an opportunity in those bad weather games, you don't get a lot of opportunities. Like I was talking earlier about the Sione Takitaki interception. You don't get a lot of opportunities, and so your performance is measured by, do you seize the moment with the few opportunities you have? And down there in the goal line, missing a couple passes in the goal line for touchdowns there with Baker. I thought that played a big part, especially early on, and he never was able to really get on track after that. But I will say the one good thing is that he didn't have any interceptions, which is really good in those situations. When you're playing in bad weather, when you're playing in rain, the team that turns the football over the most usually loses. And in this case, the Browns won. So little mixed bag there. But I'm going to be more critical of Baker this week than last week.
Zeke?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that opening drive should have resulted in a touchdown. You had the one to Harrison Bryant that was wide open. You had the one to Austin Hooper that was beyond wide open. And you got to convert those, especially in those games, that turned 7 into 0. That was a net -7 there. I thought Baker, again, was he the most accurate? Was it the best? Was it the purest game? No, but when he put the ball where it needed to be, he did it in some big situations. I thought some good third down conversions, also hit some of the big plays down the field to Higgins and to Hodge. And so, when you have 12 completions, but they go for 204 yards, that's pretty good. That means that these were significant. These are plays of significance, as I like to say. And I thought he did a very good job from that standpoint, down the field and getting the ball out, taking care of it as a passer. I will say the turnover that led directly to the Eagles' touchdown, we've got to clean that up in the pocket, protect the ball a little better. And I also think we got pretty lucky that they said his forward progress was stopped on that run there, which was the quickest forward progress being stopped whistle perhaps in the history of the league. But we'll take it. But
Thank
just
goodness.
A little careful. But I thought, again, he's converted third downs when he's had to. It started in the Washington game. He had the big third down conversion. You talked about in Houston, talked about in Cincinnati this week. So it isn't always pretty, but it does seem that in the moments where he needs to make that one throw, he's been doing it. And I would like that I'd love us to get in a game where, by the way, we're up 14 and then we're all just chilling and laughing. But I thought he came through when he needed to, but still room for improvement.
Z, I'm going to stay with you with Rashad Higgins.
Hollywood's just so steady, and his ability to understand his role. Is he what you would call a classic vertical threat? No, but he is a good route runner. He sells things, as Joe talked about, crashing down on the safety and then slipping it up the field for that big gainer, and he just catches everything. He is somebody. There is that ESP. It's that old, Dennis Hopper had Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin. They got ESP, man.
Bad things, man.
Yeah. Those two have that, and they are better together when they're involved. Hollywood, tremendous, and such a willing blocker as well.
Joe, I'm going to go down the list for you, and I'm going to go to defensive coordinator Joe Woods. What do you make of what Joe Woods is doing defensively right now?
To me, it seemed like this was the best game that he had called all season long since he's been a Cleveland Browns coach. I thought that the defense carried the team the entire game, but especially in the beginning when the offense was really having a hard time. They couldn't throw the football very effectively. They weren't running the ball very well. And Joe Woods was able to put together a game plan that featured pressure on the quarterback. We knew Carson Wentz was a guy that was going to hang on to the football. He was going to take sacks. If you hit him, he was going to throw interceptions. That's who he's been all season. He's been making bad decisions. Joe Woods did a great job hitting him, and I thought he had a game plan specifically when Denzel Ward was able to make that hit on Carson Wentz, and the ball came out a little bit more of like a lollipop than Carson Wentz wanted. Sione Takitaki was able to go up, intercept the football, take it into the end zone. That was not a called blitz. That was an add-on blitz, and I love hearing those things from the defense where they are able to and being coached to make adjustments on the run to get themselves in the best situation for the team they're playing against. So It was a great job. And I think right now what we're seeing is an intelligence level on the defensive side of the football that's matching what we're seeing on the offensive side of the football that we talked about earlier in the show. And it's great. I mean, that's what you want to be playing playoff football. That's what you need to have a chance to make the playoffs in the AFC, which is super competitive this year. You need an offense and a defense that can play complementary football, and the Browns have it right now.
All right, I want to go back to that because I would love you to help our listeners understand what you mean when you say it's an add-on blitz. We saw it with Carl Joseph, and just you could go and explain, but where they have the responsibility on somebody. If that person is not in a route, then go get the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. And you can have it in the secondary. You can have it a lot of times at linebacker. You see it all the time. We used to call it a green dog. I don't know why it's called a green dog, but that's what they called it. And when a linebacker is in man-to-man coverage specifically, and the running back that he's got or the tight end that he's in coverage on blocks, you're allowed to basically add on and become a blitzer. And that's the same thing with Denzel Ward. If you don't have a coverage responsibility, if it's some type of man coverage or if it's a zone concept, but the flow goes away from you and now you don't have anybody in your zone or you don't have any man coverage responsibilities anymore, you get a green light to go and blitz the quarterback. And when you're playing against a quarterback, like I mentioned with Carson Wentz, whose big foible this season has been he's hanging on to the football. He's indecisive. And you get an opportunity to blitz a guy that's as fast as Denzel Ward, no matter where he's coming from. If the quarterback holds on to it for 3.5 seconds, he's going to get hit because it's so hard on an offensive line and running backs and tight ends to see that pressure coming because it's not a designed pressure. It's coming late. It's an add-on. And so he's not already being accounted for in your protection up front because it's not a blitz. He's got a coverage responsibility that changes because of who that responsibility is and what that receiver did. And so it becomes basically a free hit on the quarterback, and Denzel executed it beautifully, and it caused the biggest play in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it certainly was. All right, guys, last one for both of you. The NFC East. Z, I'll start with you.
If this was the Premier League, they would be sent down. They'd be demoted. See ya.
Relegated
to the lower levels. The fact of the matter is the Eagles are still in first place. They're 3-6-1, and they're still in first place in that division, which is just bananas, and it doesn't happen often. I want to say the last time that there was a team – it may have been, was it the Seahawks the year that they won their division?
Beast mode.
Yeah, and then beast mode. And then they beat the Saints
yep.
when the Saints had to come to town. So, look, that's just the way it is. You win your division, you get to go to the dance. But, boy, not good. Not good, the old NFC East this year.
It was funny to think. Well, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
That year that the Seahawks made the playoffs at 7-9, like you were mentioning, they won their division. I feel like that division was competitive. They were 7-9 because there were some good teams that they were playing.
Yeah.
This is different right now in the NFC East. Their horrible record is because they're all horrible. It's unbelievable to think. At the beginning of the season, it was kind of a joke, like how bad the NFC East is. Ha, ha, ha. Dallas is worse than we thought. We thought Eagles were going to be good. Ha, ha, ha. They're not very good. But they're actually worse than they were at the beginning of the season, which is hard to wrap your mind around. That the one team that we thought we kind of wrote off, which was the Giants, they're actually looking okay compared to what we thought, and the other three teams just look dreadful.
I mean, could the Red Rifle take the Cowboys to the playoffs? He absolutely could. At 3-7,
they still have the most talent.
They absolutely could. Yeah, even with all the injuries, they still have the most talent. It's wild. I mean, you could win this thing with 6 wins.
Oh, yeah. And the Giants seem to be playing better football of late. A little turmoil there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
for sure.
Offensive
like
line
Top said, yeah.
Craziness. They're playing better, and Washington football team knows what they need to do to win. I think the Eagles are the worst of those teams right now.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough yesterday.
Did you guys think, too,
broken.
watching that game, they started off, it felt to me, Miles Sanders ended the game with 16 for 66. It felt to me like he did all of that early. Yeah, he had 11 carries for 63 yards in the first half, and then they stopped running the ball. Like, I don't know, 5.7 yards a carry, and Boston Scott had 5 for 24. So they had 16 carries for 89 yards in the first half, and then said, we're good. We don't need to run the ball anymore.
They're good.
Why'd they do that?
It's safe. I don't know. I don't know. It's strange. And then that division is, and we've feasted on it, obviously. All right, coming up next, we'll take a look ahead to our game against Jacksonville and some of the big takeaways from Week 11, including just a devastating injury in Cincinnati. We'll get to all of that coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, a lot to be excited about this season. Witness exciting catches, hits, and runs. Don't miss out. Join our season ticket member waitlist today, clevelandbrowns.com/tickets for a chance to be part of it all. And so it is Jaguar week as we head down to Jacksonville, and finally good weather. Well, I know you're a proponent of playing in the elements off. I would have to imagine if you were a part of this team, you'd be looking at a trip to Jacksonville in late November with a big smile.
Yeah, especially if it's not going to be super hot. If it's going to be a beautiful Florida, like 72 and sunny, those guys are going to be really happy. And I tell you, the guys that are going to be really, really happy are the receivers, because they're finally going to get an opportunity to actually catch some footballs. I know that my good buddy Andrew Hawkins and those receivers we used to play with, they hated playing in bad conditions because, one, you know you're not going to throw the ball very much. You're going to be doing a lot more blocking than you really want to. But, two, like, it's so hard to catch the ball and track the football in the air when it's moving all over the place because it's windy. But then you have to deal with the slipperiness of the ball once it gets to you. So going down and playing in some nice conditions where the grass is tight and fast and you can run around and be a basketball player, those guys are going to love it.
What they might also love is that Doug Marrone today said that Josh Allen is going to be out this week, who is their best pass rusher. DJ Hayden, who is their number 3 corner, is going to be out this week. Both starters, by the way, missed the game against the Steelers, and their starting safety, Daniel Thomas, is also out. So they could be without their best pass rushers and 4 of their 5 starting defensive backs for this game against the Browns in nice condition. So this could be the game for Baker and the receivers to go put up, do a little, as Dick Vitale say, stat sheet stuffer supreme. He's a 4S man, baby.
Yes, there is the potential for that. I will say this about Jacksonville, although Pittsburgh, they hung with Pittsburgh. There was an interception in the red zone from Minkah Fitzpatrick on a tip ball that changed that game. They were driving to score and would have kept it close before that point. They have a lot of give a damn. I'll give Marrone that. They play hard. They play with teams a lot. They've given teams that they shouldn't be hanging with a game from time to time, and I'm sure they'll do that. But in terms of the matchup, it's pretty favorable for us, Joe. So the question becomes, the good teams act accordingly. That's what Pittsburgh did. They go down there. They're 10.5-point favorites. It's pretty much over at half, and they cruise on and put it away. What signs will you be looking for from our team to let you know that we're acting accordingly on Sunday?
Well, I think the big thing for us, just from a game plan perspective, is trying to limit DJ Shark, because he's a pretty good receiver. And, in the secondary, we've struggled earlier on in the season shutting down passing games. And I think we've made a lot of progress. Denzel Ward is playing lights out. So I would love to see Denzel Ward just shadow DJ Shark and just go mano-a-mano, shut him out, because after that, when you kind of start going down the list, offensively, the Jaguars don't have a lot of weapons. Gardner Minshew's not playing right now. They've got Lutton at quarterback, who did not play very well last weekend, 16 of 37, took a couple sacks. And that's what you're going to expect from a younger quarterback. Teams got a pretty decent scouting report on you after a couple games, and they know what your tendencies are. They're going to eat you up a little bit. So if we can take away DJ Shark and not allow him to run the football, put the ball into Lutton's hands, get a little bit of a lead, I mean, that's exactly how you want to play this football game. So just make sure you're not giving up any big plays over the top of your head early on in the game, and just keep running Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, baby.
The formula's there. I mean, this is one.
Yeah,
it's there. This is go out there, handle your business. James Robinson has been a nice player. DJ Chark, as you mentioned, get down the field. Conley every now and then hits a big play for them. But letting through 4 picks. Just go ahead, get after them, harass them, make them uncomfortable, put them in 3rd and longs, which was critical, I thought, this week, and we did a great job. I think the Eagles were 2 of 12 on 3rd downs. Do that, run over them, wear them down. We know their linebackers well. We know the strengths and the weaknesses, certainly, of Joe the Show. So let's go down there, handle our business, impose our will, and cruise to, I think, a nice win. And I do think this is a game, though, where you can work on some things. Because, Joe, you mentioned it. We are not a traditional drop-back passing team. I believe, this is just me, I believe, in order to win against the Tennessees and the Baltimores and the Pittsburghs and the teams that you would see in the playoffs right now would be traveling to Buffalo to take out the Bills, you're going to have to be able to execute a drop-back passing game. And so this is a good tune-up game.
Yeah, I think, you still want to be who you are, but to have the opportunity to really focus and dial in, especially during the week on, all right, this is the drop-back concepts that we really like. We think we're going to be featuring kind of moving forward the rest of the season. Let's make sure we're flawless. Let's spend a little bit of extra practice time this week, making sure we're really good on our 3rd and 5+ drop back passes, because that's what we're going to need for the playoff run. And hopefully if we get into the playoffs, you're going to need that at some point, and that's going to be the make or break, win or lose part of your game. So let's make sure we improve on that, especially coming off of 3 weeks in a row where you really didn't do a whole lot of that, because the weather didn't allow it.
All right, guys, let's head around the league real quickly here. Let's start with the news out of Cincinnati from Adam Schefter. The MRI revealed more damage than anticipated to Joe Burrow's knee. It's a torn ACL, MCL, and other structural issues in the knee as well. So borderline catastrophic injury for Joe Burrow on his knee. Just a kid who is just such a bright spot and such a fun player to watch, and now it's just a brutal spot, Joe. And look, this is the game we play, and I've seen a lot of people say, is it the Bengals' fault for playing him or not protecting him with their line? Football's a violent game. These things happen, right?
Yeah, just devastating news for the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow was the front runner to win Rookie of the Year overall. Obviously, Offensive Rookie of the Year, but it is one of those things where you look back and you say, okay, the offensive line for the Bengals was not doing a very good job, and they still were throwing the crap out of the football with Joe Burrow. But that's kind of who they were going to be. Like, that's who Joe Burrow is as a quarterback. So how do you blame them for the number of passes that they're calling when it's actually giving them a chance in those games? I mean, he was keeping them in a lot of games that they shouldn't have. But I definitely think that they're going to have to go back in this offseason and look at that offensive line and try to figure out what can we do to be better up front, because they were just not even close to getting the job done. We saw that up close and personal early on in the season when we played Thursday Night Football against the Bengals, and it was 6 times we sacked Joe Burrow. I mean, he was getting brutalized, and part of it was his own fault sometimes when he'd hold on to the football, and you'll get that with rookies. But when you've got such a valuable asset and you're seeing the growth and you see what the future holds for this young man, to not do a better job of maybe trying to protect him a little bit, I think the Bengals are going to regret that, or they're already regretting that a little bit.
It's brutal. I thoroughly enjoyed watching him play the game, and certainly a bright future, and hopefully he'll get back to that. It just reminds you of, it's for the Bengals when they have their guy, Kimo von Oelhoffen and Carson Palmer in that playoff game, and you just think, man, now Carson was able to come back from that, and Joe hopefully will as well, but it stinks. We've had our own hardships, so I'm not going to cry too many tears for another franchise, but it's awful to see. The young guys, and especially guys who have been not only good players but seem to be certainly class acts himself, Dak this year, both of those guys going down to gruesome injuries. It's just, you hate to see it. It stinks.
Yeah, it does. It certainly does stink. Guys, in terms of the weekend at large, what jumped out to you, Joe? What are the headlines that you look back on this weekend? What surprised you? What are some of your big takeaways?
Yeah, the one thing that jumps out to me of teams that matter is what's going on with the Ravens. And this is obviously good for the Brownies, but offensively, they just have been in a rut that they have not been able to get out of. It seems like they're not really utilizing Mark Ingram. They're maybe trying to phase him out of the offense a little bit. Lamar Jackson doesn't look like the player that he was last year. Their defense is giving up yards that they weren't doing a year ago. So, putting a smile on my face, but it was the big surprise, I think, for me of the weekend when I watched the football game. I really thought that the Ravens weren't going to be in such a deep drought on offense, and I figured coming into this season, especially what happened after the first game of the year against the Browns, that their offense was going to be better than they were last year, and it looks like they've gone backwards.
Joe, when's the last time you've seen them bullied? A.J. Brown threw them to the ground. They couldn't tackle. Yeah. They kept trying to tackle him, just shoved him off. I just have never seen that from Baltimore. It's one thing for Derrick Henry to do it in overtime, but they were bullied. They were absolutely bullied, which is something you don't often see from them, Z.
No, it's not. And you mentioned just their offense. When Dez Bryant and Willie Snead are your most targeted wide receivers, and Hollywood Brown goes without a catch, and Lamar Jackson averages 3.9 yards a carry. If that's all you're doing, your running doesn't become that big of a threat. And guess what? You can't really pass it. They're interesting. The Dolphins just
terrible,
pathetic display on offense in that game was stunning to me. I didn't expect that. The Lions, whenever you think that they could be decent, they're dreadful. That was a ridiculous showing.
Garbage.
Absolutely just garbage. The Vikings, who seem to be coming on and maybe making a push for the playoffs, and then to lose at home to the Cowboys.
Falcons too.
There were a lot.
Showed nothing.
Nothing.
And by the way, how about Taysom Hill and what Sean Payton got out of Taysom Hill, Joe?
We all knew that Taysom Hill could run the ball a little bit, but he had an incredible completion percentage, and he was completing balls down the field. I think he proved in that one game what the Saints saw in him when they signed him to that big contract last offseason to kind of be the heir apparent. Because there was a lot of people that were saying, well, I don't know, for kind of a gadget Tim Tebow type guy, it seems like a lot of money. I don't know if he can be the next guy to take over for Drew Brees, but he really showed us what he can do as a quarterback in the pocket, throwing the football. And it'll be interesting to see if, as teams see more of the same concepts over and over again with Taysom Hill, if they're going to be able to come up with a game plan that forces him to do things that he's uncomfortable doing. But as of right now, it doesn't matter. They're rolling, and hopefully they can, for their sake, continue this until Drew Brees is able to come back from that rib injury.
So I wasn't able to watch that game underwater because I was, at the stadium. But I did see a highlight package of some of his completions that looked like some of the worst throws I've ever seen. Did he also make good throws?
Yes, and
Okay.
he also Michael Thomas dropped 2 deep balls.
Okay. That
Like,
were good
just
throws. So
drops.
he actually looked
On the money, deep balls that were just drops. He got better as it went along. There was some rough stuff early with him, but in the third, fourth quarter, he picked it up. But Mike Thomas dropped 2. I mean, he doesn't ever drop a ball.
Yeah.
And he dropped 2 in the first quarter of this game. So I don't know if the ball's just coming off different than Drew or whatever, but his threat in the run game it's real. It's another element to them with
Sure.
Kamara, where you could see how they can win some games with that defense coming along. All right, we got to let Joe go. Before we do that, Thanksgiving, what's on the table? What are the MVPs? When you get that first plate, Joe, what's the strategy of that first plate?
So I've kind of gone beyond just the first plate, and because I never was able to fit everything I wanted on one plate, so now I just go with 2 plates. So I've got like the beginning plate, which is your crescent rolls. It's going to be your green bean casserole. It's going to be some of your mashed potatoes. It's going to be your sweet potato mash. And then you got your next plate, which is a little bit more of like the MVP, like heavier stuff, where you're gonna have obviously your turkey. You're gonna have some more of your mashed potatoes because you got to have your mashed potatoes with your turkey and with your gravy. And then it's gonna have some buffalo chicken dip, which is always a staple for us. Maybe another crescent roll so you can dip it into some of that mashed potatoes. But then you're gonna also have a little room for the salad on there. You got to have a little bit of that side salad on there. So 2 plates, I think, is the way to go for round 1 at least, so that you make sure you can kind of sample everything. Because what you want to do, the strategy is you go around the world with the sampling. You don't want to just dive in and eat all of one thing. You want to make sure that you're getting a little flavor and a taste of everything. So you're going all through the flavor profiles on your tongue, and you're making sure that every little savory morsel is being consumed together. And then you go back for round 2 and you go in a counterclockwise manner this way. And you do that until your whole plate is gone. Then you go back for your third plate, which is all of the favorites, right?
when
now
you
you're
drill
hitting all
it,
the
so
things
plate-
that you
plate
really
3.
enjoyed
Okay.
the first time. And then your fourth plate, of course, then is your dessert plate. You got to do it all over again, same way you did with the regular stuff.
And I eat a lot.
You
This
can't
is
do better
hilarious.
than that.
Oh, he's such a legend.
You can't do better than
I mean,
that.
It's
That's
just,
it.
It's spectacular.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and your
Happy
family,
Thanksgiving,
Hoff.
guys.
We appreciate you a great deal, my friend.
Legend.
Appreciate it.
Are
guys.
you a
Thanks.
sports fan looking for a part-time weekend job? Get into the action at First Energy Stadium, home of your Cleveland Browns. West is now hiring for part-time event staff and security. Apply online at westhiring.com. J.C. Treader coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You're up.
Beau Bishop here for my great friends at Raising Cane's, bringing more delicious hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers, cane sauce, and crispy crinkle-cut fries, coleslaw, buttery Texas toast, sweet tea, and lemonade. They're bringing it all to you, and a new location is coming. They're opening all the time in Northeast Ohio. This one in Middleburg Heights, opening soon. Raising Cane's, your home for game day goods. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, proud sponsor of the Ohio High School Association and Ohio State Athletics. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love. And now let's go to the podium. Our center, J.C. Treader.
How difficult is it to get your footing and really to block in those rainy, slippery conditions?
Yeah, I mean you gotta choose the right cleats. I think probably most guys went with the 7 studs yesterday just to give them a little more grip, be able to sink into the field a little bit. But it's never easy. You know, it gets as the grass and the dirt get more and more soaked with moisture. You know, it starts getting harder and harder to make sure you have good footing. But you know, both sides are dealing with the same thing. They have to slow down as well in their rush, so it's a benefit to us as well. But that's just what you're dealing with.
You guys take such pride in your run blocking. Can you talk about what happened on that first and goal from the one down in the first quarter when you couldn't get in?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we started first play, didn't get enough push. We ran a pass down there as well, and you know, they stood up well. You know, they got more penetration than we got movement. We were able to punch it in. That's something we got to improve on.
Hey, JC, good to see you. When it comes to like the big picture outlook for this team, you know, you guys were without an NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidate yesterday, and you win. Where's this team's confidence at right now? And do you allow yourself to start thinking playoffs?
No, I think there's still a lot more time to go before you need to start worrying about that far ahead. I think it was a great job by our defense. I think everybody stepped up again. Like you said, you're losing a really important piece and a really great player, Miles. And everybody had to do more yesterday in order to cover for that. And everybody did. Defense played really well. An impressive game all around by them. So, you know, that's great, but there's still a lot of work to be done before you start worrying about what's going to happen after January.
And Coach Stefanski just told us that Miles has been ruled out for the Jacksonville game too. Obviously not what any of you guys want to hear, but do you have confidence that you guys can once again deliver and that, you know, that defense can come through without him because you're just able to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have to do the same thing. The guys will go into it with the same mindset as they did last time. We have a lot of talented players on that side of the ball, so you know, everybody will continue to step up and continue to play well. Every game's different, but I think we all have all the confidence in the world on that side of the ball.
Hey, JC. What adjustments did you guys make in the run game to get things going at the end of the third quarter and then into that fourth quarter?
I don't really think we made many adjustments. I think we just kept working and kept pushing and just kept waiting to bust one. And we get a good look on that long run by Nick. They run a cross dog that we pass off well and open up a big lane for Nick. And that's really all Nick needs is just a little crease. And he can make a good play into a big play. So you just keep kind of banging and keep trying to get something going. And I don't think we changed anything. We didn't put in any new plays that we weren't calling in the first half. We just kept at it.
You know, Kevin Stefanski said, you know, they're trying to tweak some things, personnel or whatever, to get things going. Have you noticed throughout the year that the coaching staff has been good at kind of tweaking things in game, and that's a good sign for coaching staff to make those adjustments?
Yeah, no, we talk about it a lot on the sidelines of kind of what we're seeing and what they're seeing, what we're having success with and what we're not, and then what the defense is presenting, and then what we can do to try to beat that defense that they're putting out there. And we go in with plenty of personnel groups, plenty of plays, so we have kind of a long list of things we can get to, and then it's just about trying to get to the right things based off what they're showing us. So I think I've always been impressed with our coaching staff this year and being able to find those runs that look good after we start getting a feel for what they're trying to do to us.
Oh, yeah, JC, I just want to ask you one quick thing about Mack Wilson tweeted something, I think it was this morning, about he felt like the culture was changing. Do you feel something along those lines? I mean, you feel like you're finally doing what you set out to do?
Well, I think probably the quickest way to have a winning culture is by winning. So I think that probably helps it. But no, I think from the moment Kevin got here, I think he's done a really great job of shifting this team into the way he wants us to play and the way he wants us to think and the way he wants us to prepare. And that's been evident since the first meeting that we came. We've had the same ideals preached to us day after day of what we need to do to be a successful football team. And we continue to embody those ideals, and that's something credit to Kevin. That's what he's wanted from us, and I think we're doing a good job of doing that. But that has to continue. The work's not done at our current record. We have to keep doing the right things and preparing the right way and playing the right way in order to continue to have that culture shift.
Do you believe in the old adage that he's so even keeled that players take on the demeanor of their coach?
Probably a little bit, but I think one of the big things I've talked about a few times with what Kevin's done here, I think he's created a family atmosphere, and I think the really good teams go from being coworkers to being family, and I think that makes a big difference on how you play and how you prepare and how you battle on Sundays. And that's something that Kevin made a point from the get-go of having us get to know each other as more than just coworkers. And that's not easy, especially with the year we've had, the off season we had with no really in-person work. But Kevin really worked hard on creating that environment for us. And I just think that's really important in the culture of the team as well, of having guys look at each other as extensions of their family that they really care about. More than just in the building, about who they are as people and what makes them tick. I think that really helps as well.
You guys have won without Nick. You've won without Odell. You've won without Miles. You've won in the rain and the wind and the cold. Have you been surprised by the resiliency of this team, Jason?
1 minute.
Such a mentally challenging and physically challenging season in so many ways for you guys.
I wouldn't say surprised. I think every team goes through the loss of players, whether for the year, for short-term pockets of the season, that you have to overcome, and you can't allow injuries to impact what you provide on Sundays, and everybody has to provide more when a guy who's
30
important to how the team runs goes down. That's just how every team works, and I think that's something that the good teams are able to continue to play well, even when different people aren't able to play, and they have to put somebody else in there, and everybody on that position group needs to step up. That's what good teams do. So I wouldn't say I'm surprised by that. That's
stand by.
Is that we have to play up to our standard. Whether certain players can't play, that doesn't change our standard, and we have to play up to it.
You're up. You're up.
All right, good stuff from JC there. Coming up next, a little Monday night edition of The Scores. Gosh, do we need it?
Boy.
Oh, do we need it? Here, listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Cleveland Browns Daily brought to you by our great friends at Snapple, the official tea and juice drink of the Cleveland Browns. On game day, make sure you head to your nearest Discount Drug Mart location before kickoff to load up on your favorite Snapple flavors. Before we get to the scores, congratulations to all your Ohio high school state champions. Just in the local area alone, Hoban, Chardon, Kirtland. Yeah, good job out of all those guys getting it done. Chardon getting the state championship over the weekend over to Sales, and Hoban beating Massillon in the state championship game as well. So good job out of those guys. All right, time for a little Monday edition of the scores. And Uncle Beau needs it, kids. I need it bad, baby. I need it bad.
Come on, Beau, you got this.
Sad.
It's all right.
Weekend.
You're okay.
Rams at Bucks. Go ahead, Gibby.
No, Tampa Bay, who's on national TV every week. Wonder why. Playing host to the Rams coming from west to east. Rough one. Tampa actually practiced last week, all week at night, in preparation to try to reverse their primetime curse that they've had here in 2020.
Next level thinking. And listen, I'd be all about the Rams here. I think they're well coached. I think they've got a great defense. I think they've got a good offense, certainly when they follow their script. The injury, Whitworth being out against a team that can rush the quarterback from the edges, you're down 2 tackles. I don't think that's a recipe for success. Taco Bell, Tampa Bay, big, 27-20.
Yeah, I kind of am with you on that. I do like this Rams team too, and I think that they could still win the NFC West when you're right on. They're one of those teams that follows a script. But I'm with you on Bucks on this one as well. They're not going to blow it again in prime time. They just can't. They've blown it so big in prime time. They can't do it again. They'll play well. I think they get Antonio Brown even more involved than they have. They're so talented on the perimeter, and the defense is. I think they'll play well against a Rams team that's really well coached. Give me the Bucks, 31, Rams 24.
By the way, pure joy victory Monday. I thought the Hoff was on another level, and Source
came out
so hot, on fire.
So hot, yeah.
Like it was like a comet just blazing in, and it was beautiful to see. And I was just texting with him. The reason he said that he was so fired up is he's heard a rumor
1 minute
that there might be a special live BPA this Friday.
There is starting. See, I didn't want to talk about it.
I know, but it's starting to be a groundswell.
A little bit of groundswell of support of the
Woo,
Ibs boys.
The old Ibs boys.
A Friday edition of the Ibs boys. Listen, you want to go to reliable sources on this. Perhaps we get Kaplan on the phone to confirm it.
He's working on a big one. He's working on a big one. He's not going to tell you now.
Be a heater.
You might find out Thursday. He won't tell you now.
30.
It's under wraps. Yes.
Under wraps for now. The next level coming up next. We're back tomorrow.
We'll see you Friday, too.
Biggest story you've ever heard.